Of May 3rd, 2022, where we are reconvening from closed session, where direction was given and no action was taken. Will you stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Salute. Looking for a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion carries with 7 yeses and 0 nos.
Okay, moving on to presentations and proclamations. We have one presentation from the Butte Fire Safe Council.
Tara.
There you go.
Oh, a little closer. I appreciate the opportunity to be here and speak with all of you today. It is Wildfire Preparedness Week in California, and this weekend on May 7th is Community Wildfire Preparedness Day. So certainly an important time to talk about this program and one of the ways that we can help residents in Oroville reduce their wildfire risk. Oh, got to turn it on here. All right, so I work for the Butte County Fire Safe Council. We're a grassroots nonprofit. Our office is up in Paradise, and we've grown to a staff of about 20. And we work on education, mitigation, and wildfire recovery projects throughout the county. And part of my job is to support the more local fire safe councils and Firewise communities. So this is a picture of one of our Firewise communities up in Sterling City, and they just received a $500 grant for their community preparedness project and came with some flags. So they have a project planned for this weekend. So my presentation here is what are Firewise USA communities? What are the steps for a neighborhood or a group to get certified? What are the benefits of doing the program? And what are the annual requirements to stay in good standing after they've been certified? The Firewise communities in Butte County, and some of the goals we have moving forward. So Firewise USA, it's a national program under the National Fire Protection Association. And it works with residents to address the risk to private property through defensible space and home hardening, primarily with education. Oh, there we go. So it has grown to over 1,800 communities nationwide, and we have 7 active communities working currently in Butte County. So the whole point of the program is to empower neighbors to come together to work for neighborhood cooperation, and the program gives them a framework for action. So every year they come up with an action plan, and so it's neighbors helping neighbors to reduce their own risk, but it also gives them some social encouragement to keep going with the program and set new goals for their risk reduction. So here's a little snapshot of nationwide. So a very strong Firewise USA presence in Northern California. And so the steps to get certified. Neighbors need to come together to organize their committee and their leadership team and draw the boundary. So the committee could be, we recommend, between 2 and 5 people that are kind of steering the ship, and then 1 primary leader. And they begin by filling out a risk assessment and an action plan, and the Fire Safe Council and CAL FIRE will help them through this process. And then once they're certified, they are following that action plan, tracking their volunteer activities, and submitting it every year to reduce wildfire risk. So to break that down a little bit more, for organizing it, this committee, ideally everyone lives in the neighborhood, and there's one community where it's just a man and his wife. They're the neighborhood leaders, but maybe it's a larger area, and we want people from different regions of the community. So that primary person is the one that's going to fill out the application, and as a group, they're going to define the boundaries for the Firewise community. And this could be between 8 and 2,500, so quite a big range. We're pushing for communities in the low 100 range so that it's small enough that people know one another. We're trying to discourage large areas of 2,500 for starting off because it's a pretty large group of people to work with. And there can be multiple Firewise sites within a city, town, or homeowners association. So the hope is here in Oroville and Oroville Foothills that we have pockets of Firewise communities in different neighborhoods. So they would log into the website to make the application for Firewise. And then the risk reduction, it asks them a series of questions, which is just kind of a snapshot of the overall risk, a snapshot of how the community is now. So we don't need individual addresses for this, and we actually have a pretty strong partnership with CAL FIRE, who has the inspection data when they do their defensible space inspections. So a lot of the results from that can go to us to help them fill out this application. And so the emphasis is just kind of an overall snapshot, and again, will help. So the action plan, this can be as simple as a Word document with bullet points, but it's just their goals 3 years out of what they want to accomplish as a community. And then every 3 years, they would update this. And so the activities on there can be things for individual homeowners as well as the entire group, and then maybe there are some communal spaces like a park or their main evacuation route that they all want to come and work on together. This is our mascot, Wildfire Ready Raccoon, getting to work, cleaning up his leaves and his gutters. And so once a community is certified, they work on, first of all, spreading the word so that everybody in that community knows about the program and feels invited to participate. Working every year on the action plan and submitting hours for the risk reduction activities that have been done. Sorry, there's a lot of clicking with this. And for each community having one educational outreach event per year. And so that could be inviting everyone to participate, maybe an event that the Fire Safe Council or another partner agency hosts, or it might be something they want to put together themselves if they invite in a speaker or put together some kind of a training. So once they're certified every year to remain in good standing, so every dwelling unit in the community has to contribute at least 1 hour per year, and this is an overall estimate. So if the Firewise community was 100 dwelling units, that group would have to put forward 100 hours of volunteer work every year. And the leaders would submit those volunteer hours with the description of what they did, progress on the action plan, and what they did for their educational events. So the benefits of doing this program is improving neighborhood preparedness and collective safety. This is our group in Mary Mountain Village on a workday. Building community and helping neighbors meet one another to build camaraderie and communication, which is very important in case there is an emergency. These are people that already know each other. And it gives them a framework for action so it can motivate people to keep making steps towards a common goal. Even if they're already in maybe a high level of preparedness, those individuals could contribute to helping out their neighbors and getting everyone more prepared for wildfire. And then this program gives opportunities to learn more about fire and what people can do to be prepared. And so we have monthly check-ins with Firewise leaders and keep them in the loop about events and opportunities that they have, as well as saving money on insurance discounts and getting more access to grants and support from the Fire Safe Council. So a growing number of insurance agencies do give a discount if you live in a Firewise community. It's between 7 to 10%. And the number is growing. So currently, Mercury Insurance, State Farm, California Fair Plan, and USAA all offer a Firewise discount. So we found that is a big incentive for people wanting to get started and maintaining the good standing. Here's a little snapshot of where our Firewise communities are right now. So I am working with Lake Wyandotte to get them certified, hopefully reaching out into Mount Ida as well. And you can see the size. Our larger communities, Forest Ranch, the whole ridge, is a Firewise community of 655. And then our smallest one, Kelly Ridge Unit 7, is just 14 dwelling units. So a lot of flexibility. We really want to encourage participation. So even if it starts small with just a few neighbors that want to start the program, starting with the people interested and going from there. So larger goals is we really want to grow this program here in the South County with Oroville, Lake Wyandotte, and Mount Ida. And this program was active in multiple places that have experienced catastrophic wildfire. So Paradise, Magalia, Feather Falls, and Berry Creek, helping those communities reestablish their Firewise communities programs. And then continuing to hold in-person outreach events as we're able to. So that's my presentation. Thank you very much for listening. I know I've spoken with some of you in the past about how we might bring this program to Oroville. I would recommend, if we're interested in moving forward, holding a outreach event to try and recruit people that might want to be local leaders. We find that without a really motivated community member, it can be pretty difficult to get the program started. So if we already know of people in the community that want to take on more leadership, and this is an issue they care about, bringing those people in, and then from there I could help them get started with the application process. Again, my name is Lauren DeTerra, so thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Councilmember Goodson has a question for you, Lauren.
Yes, thank you so much. It was a great presentation, much needed. As you were speaking, I already thought of a couple of grassroots organizations in a couple of our neighborhoods that would really benefit from this type of presentation. So email address, some way of getting in contact with you. In addition to that, are you aware that United Way is in the process of generating a grant process for Firewise communities as well?
I hadn't heard that yet. United
Yes.
Way. Okay. So a growing number, so it's really exciting to hear.
Absolutely.
Councilmember Smith.
Yeah, appreciate you, Lauren DeTerra. She came and presented at the Arbor Days Festival, and that was just a great presentation several times through the day. And I just want to, as one of the committee members with that annual event, let you know that that could be an opportunity for an anchor event annually. As people just trying to absorb all of that, that would be something that would be available, I think, on an ongoing basis to help facilitate that annual piece. But also, I just want to let everyone know that we next door have the materials as well available. So if anybody's interested in this program, it's at the chamber next door as well.
Perfect.
So, but thank you.
Thank you. Can I leave my contact information on the corner?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to public communication. This is time to hear from the public on non-agendized items. Madam Clerk, do we have any speakers?
Mr. Mayor, we do. Our first speaker is Ted Lehman.
Hello. I've never spoken in front of a group like you before, so bear with me, if you would. I'm a neighbor, okay? I've lived in Oroville for 30 years this October. I'm a grandpa. I'm a dad. I'm a 3-time cancer survivor. I generally don't like to waste my time on a project that I know is not going to pan out. You know what I'm saying? Let's talk about the Oroville drag boat races. Anybody remember that? You do. I know you do.
Sure.
It was an all go. We were ready to go on it 110%. We were going to make it happen. I had people calling me all over saying, what can we do? We're willing to volunteer. Who works for free anymore? I had a list of people that'll work for free for a week to make this happen. Okay? And we were serious about it, real serious about it. Then COVID hit. We all remember that. Well, thank God we got through that, huh? Must be a miracle. Anyway, life goes on, and we still want to do a drag race in Oroville. But you know what happened? We've had 2 agencies approach Oroville and offer to do a race as big as Red Bluff. $1 million a week, guys, $1 million a week out there. 2 agencies have come to Oroville, and both time they've been shelled or insulted, and they've left. There's only 2 agencies in California that will do this, the NJBA and CHBA. Both of them have approached Oroville and offered.
Sir, could I just
Sure.
cut into your time? Who have they talked to? Because they haven't talked to nobody at the city. Please understand where you're
Well, you know
suggesting.
your contact out in Thermal, Mr. Pee Wee Gonzalo.
Sure.
Yeah.
This is out in the county. This is something that would have to be conducted through the state. So I don't believe it's a fair representation that the city has shut this down or the city has done anything because the city
Well,
has no
no, I didn't say
regulatory
the city
control.
did, and I'm
Well,
not-
but that's what the implication and
Well,
that
let me
is
explain.
implied here.
Well, please let me
So
explain.
yeah, please, if you would, I appreciate
There's a
that.
contact out in Thermalito. His name is Mr. Pee Wee Gonzalo. The mayor knows him. The mayor's also been out and met our group at the South Forebay. We have an awesome venue at the South Forebay. I don't know if anybody's ever been out there, but it's just as good as Red Bluff. We have just as good a venue right here in our backyard that we could do it real easy. It would bring the whole community together. We had planned a parade down Main Street, the whole 9 yards, and it got shelved. Mr. Pee Wee Gonzalo is responsible for that.
Well, no, can I say something?
Sure.
The boat drags are scheduled. I
No, they're
don't
not.
know.
No, they're
Yeah,
not.
I spoke to the guy who's running it.
Nope, it's canceled.
Okay, for this year.
Yes.
But it's gonna happen next year. Because what
hopefully.
happened is they ran out of time.
Yeah.
So nobody's ran anybody off. There was a group that was first that came up here that turned out not to follow through or whatever their deal. I wasn't
Can I
that
elaborate
involved.
on that? Can I elaborate on that? I know I got a little bit of time here. I'll
Got a
try to
little
keep
bit,
it short.
yep.
Yeah, that was a CHBA. The guy that runs that is a 17-time champion.
Mm-hmm.
He's got more trophies than I got T-shirts, okay? He offered to do it first. He was insulted and called old and senile. That old and senile man was in Texas the weekend before and ran 120.
Time.
Yeah,
Please understand that.
Thank you.
If Oral would just-
thank you, sir.
Our next speaker is Chuck Reed.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Smith.
Yeah, just real quick, yeah, NJBA, I have them up here. You can go to their website. So, I've been in contact with them, and they're, the,
I used to work for NJBA.
Sir, will you let the council member speak, please, and then we'll start your time.
so they contacted me, and the board elected to postpone this year's jet boat races, and that we're going to work with them to bring them back in '23 at the South Forebay. So we're really, looking forward to that opportunity, and certainly that's a very important element, I think, that we can bring to Oroville, get us on the map. I think it's a great event, but the board decided to postpone this year. So just, so yes, they have been in contact with me.
Joe
Yes.
Shelby, is that his name? Sheplo. Yeah, Sheplo. Yeah, he's very happy, very satisfied, and he said that his board decided not to try and because of the scheduling, it was not enough time to get it ready. So we'll go ahead and start your time, sir.
Okay, just to let you know that I've worked with Dave Lipinski, California Hot Boat Association, since 1975. I've done every race from here to the East Coast. I did Red Bluff, I've done Chowchilla. I put on every race that there could be. You know, I'm a champion myself, 1991. I was with Dave when he came back from Texas. I know Joe Shelfo, I know NJB, I used to work for him. They're not gonna come back. They're, I don't know what they're telling you, but they are not gonna come back. California Hot Boat won't be back either because of the Pee Wee show. I was there during the walkthrough. You didn't know I was there. I was sitting over at the tables. I seen you bring Pee Wee in. He wasn't invited. When Dave got the permit from the state of California, which the state of California was very nice people. I mean, they did everything they could to help us out. Well, when Pee Wee pushes Dave away and says, "Shut up, I got it handled here," he wasn't invited to the walkthrough with you. How did he get out there?
He's the only one I ever knew about the drag boat races. Yeah.
Wow.
I never talked to anybody but people.
Well, see, now that's what he's not telling you folks. I mean, I stood right there in his shop over there. He lives out by the forebay. And some of the stuff he said, Dave, I've been doing this my whole life. You know, I did Red Bluff. I've done Red Bluff from the day they started the race out there to the day they finished. And it brings in millions of dollars. And I'm very upset from what Pee Wee said, you know, that he's incompetent, an old man. This guy's a world champion, 15-time world champion. You don't get that by being, you know, an old man. I got votes myself, you know. It's sad that this is going on, but we're going to take it and go somewhere else. You know, I hate to tell you guys, and good luck. You know, I'm not trying to be a jerk here, but you'll never get anybody back up here because the word's already out. In the boat racing field, there's only 2 sanctions, NJBA, CHBA in California. Arizona drag boat's not going to come here. Oregon drag boat's not going to come here. ADBA, SDBA, Pee Wee. You know, from the stuff he said, I was standing right there with the promoter. I've been with Dave for years. Matter of fact, I'm his crew chief on his boat. You know, I'm not trying to put the guy down, but he had no business being there. He's never put a race on. He's never been to a boat race. He's trying to sit there with his iPad out there at the boat ramp, telling us how to lay out the track. We've been doing this since 1975, you know? So, you know, I can see this is probably not going to go any farther, but I'm just letting you know that good luck on you folks, and it cost you guys millions of dollars, because I did Red Bluff, and I know how much revenue that brought in. Millions of dollars. So, thank you very much, and good luck to you folks.
Our next speaker is Bill Spear.
Actually, Mr. Mayor, before the next speaker, I do have a question because I'm a little bit confused by the 2 speakers. Gentlemen, before you leave, I do have a question. The first speaker said, do everything you can to bring it back. The second one said, they're never coming back. No, hang on. If it isn't going to happen, then we're not going to waste time and resources from the city to try and make it happen. So that's all I need to know. Thank you.
We've been to the state. We've already got permits.
Well,
When we got the permit, I was with Dave. We went to the state. There was nothing on there about me.
all I'm trying to figure out is allocation of city resources, because the first speaker said, do everything you can, and then you said, it's never going to happen. So as far as allocation of city resources, I just want to know what we need to do, and if it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen.
I would forget about it.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you right now, we're a close community in the boat racing. It's all over. It's already back to Texas. Word's out.
Gentlemen, if I could have you take back to your organizations too, on the city's behalf, the Pee Wee does not speak for the city or represent the city. No, he does not. He does not work here. He is not, well, whatever.
Did you go out to the walkthrough?
Sir, anybody can show up and say anything. That doesn't mean they're a representative of the city.
He was with the mayor.
He is not,
He was with
okay,
the
I'm the city administrator. I know everybody that works for me. He does not represent the views of this city and does not represent this city. He may live here.
Posted on Facebook?
I don't care what he posted on Facebook. I'm telling you, he does not represent the
Okay,
views of the city.
we're gonna have to call order here.
Yeah, good luck.
Did you count 2 council members wish to speak?
I'll take, yeah.
Councilmember Pittman?
Microphone on. Yeah, the complexity of this is you got to talk with the state of California, because the water body is the state parks. That's number one. And state parks has been helpful and difficult at the same time. So, and I've worked with them many times, and we got close to it. And I also worked with Mr. Lipinski out there prior to it, and I was hopeful we could get something going, but it's difficult to put something on a body that this city doesn't own. It's not a water body we own. State of California. So again, the state of California has to be involved. They have been somewhat helpful, but not helpful too at the same time, because parking is a big deal, and they have a worry about environmental issues for the parking of cars. So it's complex. There are some boat races that do occur that have been going on. The circle boat, they still happen out there. So hopefully we can work down the line to, in fact, my opinion is that water body ought to be turned over to the city of Oroville. Just get state parks out of it, just like the Afterbay is turned over to the sheriff's office. No sense. There's no sense. Why not turn it over to the city of Oroville? That we have more interest in it than the state parks do. So that's just my throw out there. I just want to throw that idea out there.
And I think, if I could speak on that, Councilmember Pittman, what we have here is 2 agencies that I believe are in competition with one another. And this is a representation of the group that was not chosen. So, because it is scheduled for next year, and I never heard anything negative. I heard positive feedback, and everyone was very excited about it. And I believe that both organizations have champions involved with them. What's Joe's last name? Shelpo? Yeah, he's a world champion as well.
Sheplo,
So,
yeah.
yeah. So, Councilmember Smith?
Yeah, I was just going to reiterate what Councilman Pittman was saying. I like that idea, by the way, the city taking over the South Fort Bay. Novel thought. I just want to say, just for the public, because it's kind of a little bit rambunctious, that, and the mayor, I think, also kind of put it together here, that you have two competing organizations wanting to do the same thing. So this kind of caught me a little bit, but they haven't contacted me in quite some time. But at the end of the day, State Parks is in the lead. They make the decisions as to who can run boats and who can't. It is in the county. And so that, I guess, I'm a little bit of at a loss as to what that was totally all about. But I think it's clear that at the end of the day, the city does not make those decisions as to who can run boats out at the South Forebay and who cannot. So,
Yeah.
just for clarity's sake. And we are looking forward to working with the National Jet Boat Association next year to bring boat racing back to Oroville. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Our next speaker is Bill Spear.
Vice Mayor, City Council, come here to pray this evening. Father God, we thank you for a beautiful day, the spring weather. Thank you for our City Council, for all of the people who lay down their lives for the community. And I pray you would continue to bless them, give them wisdom, guidance, direction. For our whole city, we pray for supernatural provision, supernatural wisdom, supernatural guidance. We pray for our police, code enforcement. Pray for the fire department. We pray for all the service groups that volunteer and try to make the community a better place for free. We for the neighborhood watch that have been being active and walking and looking out. We pray for the rescue mission, and thank you for Annie and her keeping the charge going, and we pray for more movement in there, that our community would come together and get behind what they're doing out there, and for it to be a miracle, for it to be obvious that it went way faster than anyone could ever even imagine. We pray for the Hope Center, for their new project they're doing there, and that it would also the same have a miraculous movement this year in the midst of the high inflation, in the midst of everything looking like it's tightening up, that there would be movement, that there would be blessings in our city. I pray for the Fire Safe Council, and thank you for the work that they do for the communities. And Lord, as they planted seed here today, I pray that someone would pick it up, that the community would get behind them, and that it would go forth, and we would all be safer, and people would get resources they need to help protect their families and protect our whole community. We pray for the drag boats, people that are sowing into it, that there would be movement there also, that regardless of what anyone says, you would open doors that can't be closed. And we also pray that you would close doors that can't be opened. It would be according to your will, your kingdom come, your will be done. We thank you, we praise you, we give you all the glory in Jesus' name. Amen.
Our next speaker is the cameraman.
Good evening, Oroville City Council. I don't have that much to speak about tonight. I was just mainly wondering as look back at some old city council videos, just perusing, the YouTube channel for the city doesn't get that many views, so I was surprised to see one council meeting that was close to 1,000 views. I'm like, there must have been something pretty interesting. So I usually go to the comments, see if there's something, usually if there's that many people, there's somebody should have commented about something. I was kind of disappointed to see that the comment section is disabled. I think we should have a right to comment about what our government officials do, that's been recorded. I understand you have to adhere to YouTube's policies. We can't have comments that violate their terms of service, risk the channel getting deleted. You gotta respect that regard. But I mean, if someone wants to comment about something in the meeting somebody spoke about, I think they should be able to, make mention on that recording. Also, I just wanted to bring up, does anybody remember Perry Reneth? He used to be the police chief at one point. Well, he testified today in the Oroville courthouse regarding a 30-year-old murder case that I've been following along with. I never knew he was the police chief at one point. He's been many things that he talked about today. So yeah, some old history there you guys didn't know. So yeah, the matter is the matter of People versus Richard Allen Pyle. He's accused of allegedly dismembering Tracy Zanstra back in 1991. Pretty interesting case, so I was surprised to see, Mr. Renniff come in and say, yeah, I was the police chief at one point. So, a lot of people I'm learning in this town have been around for a lot of years. It's like, I don't want to say I'm living in a video game or a movie, but it's kind of like a movie sometimes when it's like, you're related to this? Yeah, I'm related to this. Wow, I thought I'd just see you at the courthouse, doing security. I didn't know 30 years ago you were on felony investigations. So yeah, that's pretty neat. So yeah, so if you're interested in following along, our next court date is Friday at 8:30. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Stephanie Holstein.
Oh, sorry. Good evening, everyone. It's nice to see you again. Wanted to take a moment to appreciate, I think, all the great things that are happening in the town. I see a lot of changes, a lot of positive, beautiful things are happening. And I think that's very powerful. And I think it's a lot of the great effort of what you guys are doing and what the community is doing on grassroots levels. One thing I'd like to mention, there's an organization which we've mentioned before. It's called Veteran Adventures. And it's led by Oliver Perry, who's a veteran. He is hosting, with a lot of help from the community, a barbecue for veterans and their families for free at the Forebay. It'll be happening on May 28th from 10 to 4. Veterans with proper ID get to park for free. And we're going to have hamburgers and hot dogs for them and beverages and access to the beach. It's going to be like a beach party. And hopefully, we're working on getting discounted access to different stand-up paddleboards and kayaks and so forth. And so it's a day to really appreciate the veterans and what they've done for us. The second thing I'd like to mention is the power of people coming together again is the point of this. I had the pleasure of getting to see the presentation at the Exchange Club in January that Steve Terry did in regards to the Esperanza project, the pallet shelter that they're looking forward to doing. And I understand that the city is helping to work with that, and I think that's just absolutely amazing. More people are talking about it, more people in the community, because we're all trying to figure out how we can help. And we're all extremely resourceful people. We all have jobs, we have equipment, we have hands. We have a lot of the tools that perhaps maybe one organization feels might be too overwhelming for them to have to tackle themselves, and they shouldn't have to, because this is it's a nationwide issue of people being able to sometimes take care of themselves. Sometimes people need a hand. So I'd like to encourage the community to get involved, to see the presentation if they can. I know Annie is always welcoming more eyes on the project and more input. As well, I'm hoping that there'll be further assistance with the city. I know that she had a meeting, I believe, with Mr. Legrand. Is that correct? She had a meeting with you, I think, to check about engineering possibly
I spoke with her on the phone this afternoon regarding that.
Yes, so we're
yes.
really looking forward to that because I think it's kind of the earth-moving type stuff that can really get this off the ground. So we look forward to hearing what that's going to be and how we can help. So I just want to put that out there and tell you again, it's great to see everyone. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Brian Williams.
Mayor, thank you very much for having us have a moment for us to speak today. I'm also here to represent the Veteran Adventures. We got some flyers for anybody that may want some today. And if anybody has any contacts of any veterans that are going through PTSD, his primary organization is to put people who have PTSD together so that they have local acquaintances, that they can realize that they're not going through all this suffering by themselves, and that other people are trying to go through this together and create local resources and recreation. So again, that's May 28th from 10 to 4. We would love to see all of you guys out there. And again, if there's any other avenues that you guys may be able to direct some of this information that we may not know, we're looking to have over 100 people, and we could have 200 if we had a little extra help. So that's primarily what I'm talking about today. I also want to second the fact of community involvement with the pallet shelter at the rescue mission. I finally got to see the presentation myself, and again, it's something that the whole community will hopefully be able to find what little pieces that they can each provide to help one organization create a solution for the whole city. And I really believe that this is something that can keep us from being Chico. I know it's kind of the same idea of what Chico had to do, but I'd like to see that this is something that we're choosing to do, and we're choosing to find a place for the people that are living in their cars to have a safe parking spot, to people who don't want to stay in a shelter to have a safe place to pitch a tent at night and then go on and do whatever they do during the day, pack their stuff up and come back the next night. These are simple, relatively simple first starting steps. We don't necessarily have to have 100 pallet shelters put up in place before anything can be done. And I think that if the city could help in some sort of expediting a plan approval for grading, or even some assistance with some of the small grading to create a parking spot location so that our police department could actually have some authority to offer places for people to go, so they're not using RVs camping in front of your own houses and dumping their sewer water in the streets. I truly believe that this will help everybody in town, no matter where you live. And so, again, thank you guys. May 28th, Saturday, 10 to 4, veterans, families, and friends, come have a beach party.
Brian,
Thank you.
can I have that?
Absolutely.
It's not on my calendar. I'll get it on there.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, that is the last of the public speakers on non-agenda items.
Okay, well, thank you for your comments. I am looking for a motion to adopt the consent calendar.
I move that we adopt the consent calendar.
I'll second.
What'd I do?
Good vote.
No.
Motion carries with 7 yeses and 0 nos.
Okay. I think we gotta wait till 5:15 for the public hearing, so we can move on to regular business for right now. Item number 7, transparency software.
Good evening, Mayor Reynolds and council members. This is something that I told you I was going to be putting on the agenda. It is not new software, it is just switching from our old software OpenGov to ClearGov. We bought a few other products from ClearGov, and so this is a bundle that will provide the same service, but it'll be price cut since we're bundling everything with ClearGov. So.
Do we have any comments from the public on this item?
Mr. Mayor, I do not have any blue speaker cards on this item.
Are there any comments from this dais? Councilmember Goodson.
I think it's a great transition. I'm actually excited that we're transitioning into this software. It's very user-friendly. Thank you for finding it.
Yeah. We're excited. We did get a light version of the capital projects module, and staff has went ahead and put our convention center on there, so you can see everything we've spent year to day on the convention center. You can see the categories, the roof, the stucco. We've separated everything out and how much budget is left on it, so we hope to make that outward facing soon for the public to see, and then add another project. So that's something new that we weren't providing before. That's really cool.
Thank you. Are there any other comments from the dais? Having none, looking for a motion to approve the mayor to sign a contract with ClearGov for annual transparency software.
So moved.
Second?
Motion carries with 7 yeses and 0 nos.
Moving on to item number 8, reconsideration for authorization to award contract for tree pruning service.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and Council. What you have before you for your reconsideration is at the April 19th, 2022 meeting, the council directed staff to reject all bids regarding a request for proposal for tree pruning services. Since that meeting, at least one council member has came that voted in the affirmative to do that, has came and asked to have this item reconsidered in front of the council. Rosenberg's rules of order allow for the council to reconsider an item if a person who voted in the affirmative at the same meeting requests to review or to reconsider that item. We are not at the same meeting. Therefore, in order for you to reconsider this item, you need to set aside your rules for this instance only. This is not a precedent. This is not anything we'll be doing into the future. This is just this one particular item. Do that and then move forward from there. Scott is our parliamentarian, so he can give you more information on it than that. He's also more diplomatic. So Scott will be able to give you the information on that. What staff is requesting is that if the council chooses to do that, that the council reconsider the proposal. That was the proposals that were submitted. Staff's recommendation remains the same, that the contract, the bids be accepted and the contract be awarded to P31, the lowest responsible bidder.
Do we have any comments from the public on this item?
Mr. Mayor, we have one speaker, Bill Spear.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think you should set it aside and put it back up for a revote, because I couldn't believe it was 4-3. This is your post that the city made on their website for the RFP, and it says RFP number 42, start date 3/7/22 at 4:13 p.m. The date, time for the start date. Close date 04/07/2022 at 2 p.m. Request for proposal, tree pruning. This is the city's post. It's an easy post. It's first thing you see when you open up. Issue date, March 7th, 2022, mandatory walkthrough, March 21st, 2022. No date, no time, and no location. Underneath it, proposal due date, Thursday, April 7th, 2022, by 2 p.m. There's the time. If you glance at this and you say, okay, there's a mandatory walkthrough, and you look, the only time is there is 2 o'clock. I was down here at 2 o'clock. Where's the thing at? They didn't know. Before I came down here, I called. I came before this bid was accepted. I came down here and said, there was an issue with the post. You can't say there's not an issue with the post. You're typing it in, mandatory walkthrough, March 21st, 2022. The next line should have said the time and then the location. It's a mistake from the city. Acting like it's not a mistake with the city's outrageous. You can't believe that when I came here the first time before it went out for anyone to bid, which would have been the proper thing to do, is to extend it and say, okay, we're gonna have another mandatory walkthrough, because even though you can click on the thing and it can go to the post, and the details are two different things. If the times aren't supposed to be on the post, and you can go to the details, and why even have the post? If they would have did that, extended it, then nobody would have had their bids in, and we wouldn't be here. It wasn't much to ask. It was a fact that I had right here, that you didn't put the time and you didn't put the location. It's not asking too much. I was just in civil court for doing a eviction, and I realized I needed an attorney, because you got to have every single thing in line. This ain't in line. It was an obvious mistake, and I would think it would be unanimous of the city wanting it to be fair for everyone.
Mr. Mayor, respectfully, it is posted correctly. That is what Mr. Spear is showing us, is not the public notice. That is a computer page that directs you to the RFP. The RFP, it's clearly posted, location, date, time. I'm sorry that it worked out that way, but it is correct the way it was done. It was done correctly. We followed our policy. We followed our procedures. I'm sorry that it worked out this way. This will come around again. There'll be another opportunity. But again, I'm going to reiterate, this was done correctly.
Are there any comments from this dais? Councilmember Smith?
Yeah, I think this is a tough, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Reflecting on the previous, just for a little history, as I was reflecting on this, this was brought up by Mr. Spear prior to the contract being put out for us to vote on. And he had brought up a concern about the proper posting at that time, and it was indicated by staff that there would be a look into that. And I was under the impression at that time that that would be looked at more thoroughly. I don't know what happened with that process, but that was in my mind, I guess, I felt that was being evaluated to before a bid, our contract was actually awarded. So maybe you can help me out a little bit with that. But I get, we received some correspondence on this. I understand the position of P31 and some of their concerns that were raised. So it's really a very kind of a challenging issue here.
Councilmember Smith, if I can jump in, following that last council meeting when we did discuss those recommendations for improvement for RFP postings, we have made those improvements. We just recently published an RFP for the roof replacement and facade repairs for City Hall. And it does state on the website to please click here on the RFP for further details. And we have posted that RFP publishing in the window as recommended by City Council at the last meeting. So those recommendations have been adhered to and applied.
Let me go back to what you're asking about. When Mr. Spear came here at the first meeting and said, hey, there's something wrong with this, staff did look into it. We went to the website, we clicked on the RFP, and we saw the date and the time is listed in the RFP. Let me just outline a couple of things. And I cast no negative aspersions anywhere on anybody on this issue. But what I will say is, previously, Mr. Spear's company has had a successful contract with the city. I don't know how long the city has been doing RFPs like this, but as long as I can remember. So at some point, he was able to click on the RFP, get it, see it. I don't know why this time why he didn't realize that he was able to click on it. So as Don just mentioned, we're going to change the language. We have changed the language going forward. But in all material respects, this one did comply. So the follow-up was, we went and looked at it. And we said, it's all there. It's all legal. And the other component of this that I really struggle with is, if you're going to respond to an RFP, you need to know what is the scope, what's the amount of work you're doing, what does it entail, what equipment do you need to provide, what's going to be provided by the city. There are a ton of details that come along with an RFP. And there's no possible way that you can look at the website without clicking on the RFP. You cannot look at the website and say, that's a sufficient RFP if you don't have the attachment there. I mean, there's nowhere near enough information. In fact, there's no information that would give you anything related to scope, work desired. Will the city take the tree waste? Do they expect, will the city pay for the waste to be recycled somewhere? Well, what equipment has got to be, provided by the contractor? I mean, there's a number of details. So just on the face of the website, before you click on the RFP, the information that's there, no one could have bid on just that information. So going forward, we are going to make it crystal clear, click here for the RFP. I get that. But, this complies in all material respects with the bidding process. And it even said RFP with a highlight. It is self-explanatory with the internet. Anything that's in blue with an underline in it, you click on it. It's been that way for, since Al Gore invented the internet. And so forgive me for injecting a little bit of humor in that, but I just, is it a tough one? Do I believe what I'm hearing? Look, I have no reason to doubt anything that I'm hearing. I don't. I don't have any evidence to show otherwise. But I can tell you it does cause some significant concerns that someone could say, well, gee, I didn't understand that I needed to click there to get the actual information from the RFP. So please throw it out and do it over again. But to answer your question, you asked what was the follow-up? Staff went and followed up. We went and clicked on the RFP. We looked at it. It had the date, the time, the location. Now, had he said, hey, wait a minute, I want to bid on this, can you extend it? Had he asked that it be extended, we might have been able to entertain that. Might. I'm not looking at it with a crystal ball. I don't have perfect, hindsight vision here. Maybe we could have, maybe we couldn't have. I don't know. But once the bids were opened, it creates a certain amount of problems because now everyone who bid stepped on the line and said, here's what we're willing to charge. And it was published in an agenda, and now everybody knows what the cost factor is. It's extreme. This is not like building a construction project where you've got individuals who can say, hey, look, I can just go back and readjust my bid. You can't just readjust your bid. They're paying this is predominantly labor. Almost all of this is labor. So really they have the labor that they have and they're charging what they're charging. No matter how you slice it, there is an element of unfairness, and I get it.
Yeah. And I appreciate that. And I think, certainly I understand that being a former contractor myself. I think looking back, because it was 3 meetings ago that he came and requested that, not the last one, but
Right.
And it would have been good, I think, looking back, there should have been some outreach, I guess, just to clarify that part that, but that we're not there, and it didn't happen that way. And I get this spoiling the process by us now that that's all been exposed, and so now those numbers are out there. I totally appreciate the challenge that exists, but anyway, no, I appreciate that. And the words were RFP in red. There was no underline or anything like that. And it was a multiplicity of things that kind of led, I think, for me, it was him showing up, asking where the place is, the questionable clarity on the website, and so it was a layer of items, and the fact that he had come prior to the previous meeting and made that request. And I think there was an assumption, though you know what they say about assuming things, right? Even for myself, I was under the impression that there was going to be a look-see into that. I guess just looking back would have been nice if there was a little outreach to the Tree of Life company, letting them know that we're going to move forward with the bids that were submitted based on these items. I think that would have been, just from a city PR standpoint, probably would have been a good idea to have done that.
Vice Mayor Thompson.
Thank you. And I know that your job is to cover our tail legally, so I appreciate that. I don't want to argue, and I've already hashed this out at last meeting at length, so I hate to repeat myself. So I understand that your job is to cover us legally, and I'm not going to argue to say that we did anything illegal, or this council's done anything illegal in this process. However, in California, two phrases I think are really important is due process and equal opportunity. And I'm not sure if we were in proceedings whether we could clearly argue equal opportunity, in regards to this, in regards to the click. Maybe I can compare that to a step. The doorway was there, information was inside, all you have to do is walk up the steps to get through to the information. However, for others who may not have internet savvy, maybe an on-ramp that would have been easier for them to access, or was it equal opportunity for everybody who wants to bid on it? I would say no. We had somebody who clearly wanted to bid, clearly reached out and even asked and said, hey, I need help. I would like to bid on this. I would like to have information. Those requests for help were not answered. And I think that is a huge slight towards the city. Did we do things properly? Was it posted? Yes. Was it legal? Yes. We have, though, an individual who wanted to bid on the contract, on the proposal, and asked for help. The city did not respond to his requests for help. In regards to the argument that says, well, there's already been bids submitted, I would argue and say there's bids submitted in cities all across the state of California probably every day for tree pruning. There are previous bids for the city that could have been looked back to as far as what's been previously bid into the city to say this is not the first time that tree pruning contracted services has ever been requested or bids submitted to the city. So my standpoint in regards to was due process, was it equal opportunity, I still stand and say, it was done illegally, but which I'm sure Mr. Spears can bring forth information that shows his call log and requests for help and all of that to show that here we have a person who would like to bid on something. He asked for help. We did not respond. He came to the city on the day. People did not know. And in that process, even knowing that he wanted to do that, as a city, as a staff, we could have reached out and said, hey, you came, you called, you were here. Sorry that or whatever that could have been. Let's go walk you through, or let's go take you to this information so that you can. So it wasn't like, he's not said anything and just all of a sudden, said, oh, hey, I saw the RFP. I tried to click it. I didn't do it. And then I saw that you guys already accepted something, but I wanted to apply or bid on this contract. We have somebody who, before the contract, on the day, all this process was said, hey, I need help. I need help. The city did not supply help before, during, or after this process. We just kind of went through it and figured, well, you didn't go up the easy step, so I'm sorry, you can't apply for it. So for me, it's clear this was not done properly, so my vote still stands what it was last time.
Anyone else? Councilmember Riggs.
Yeah, I think that, Ms. Thompson, you bring up a really good point in that we don't know the complexity of all of the communications between possible bidders and staff. It's my understanding, though, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the communication between bidders and city staff is quite limited in order to ensure a fair process. And so there's specific question periods and protocols to follow for questions such as this that need to be followed. And so that's one of my concerns. The other piece of information that I believe is missing here is, yes, there is the matter of questions have been asked, but were they asked in the appropriate manner or within the appropriate time? I understand that we've been told that, Mr. Spears called staff the day of. I believe that the walkthrough was at 9 a.m. Did those calls go before that 9 a.m. period or after that 9 a.m. period? Those are all things that should be considered. And so for me, I believe that it is valuable for the integrity of the bid process. And for this one and for all moving forward, that we respect the information that has been provided and the process and follow that as directed. Thank you.
Councilmember Smith.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, thank you, Ms. Nevers, for, letting us know that the city has taken all of that. I appreciate that greatly. I just wanted to reiterate the appreciation for that. So moving forward, that we will never traverse this ground again, hopefully. So thank you for that.
Councilmember Riggs.
And thank you, Mr. Spear, for bringing those issues to our attention, because that's not something that we would typically experience. And so I appreciate the back and forth with refining the process and finding the best way forward. Thank you for that.
Mr. Spear, I'm a contractor as well, sir, and I've been on both sides of this issue, and I understand them both completely. And ultimately, I'm going to accept responsibility for this mistake, and I apologize. But I believe in order to respect the process, we need to move forward. And we have corrected our issues, and if you witness anything more, sir, you are more than welcome to contact this council, not just staff. You are a citizen of this community, and you are more than welcome to contact this council and make us aware prior to the outcome. So, in my opinion, I feel for you, and I feel, like I said, I've experienced both sides many times. But I think in order to respect the process, because the bids were opened publicly, I think that we need to move forward. So I apologize. I will accept that responsibility. The recommendation is that we authorize staff to award the bid and sign a contract for tree pruning services with the city's public right-of-way to P31 Enterprises Incorporated.
So moved.
If I might, just before, as Bill mentioned, I am sort of the de facto parliamentarian. The motion does need to include a motion for reconsideration of the item and awarding of you need to include both of those to make it proper.
Looking for a motion to reconsider the item of April 19th, 2022, as well as to authorize staff to award the bid and sign a contract for tree pruning services within the city's public right-of-way to P31 Enterprises Incorporated.
So moved.
Push.
Motion carries with 5 yeses and 2 nos.
Okay, returning to the public hearing portion of the meeting. We have item number 6, an ordinance, I need to open the public hearing at, sorry, I got
5:34.
5:34 PM.
Full time.
Moving on to item number 6, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Oroville related to the adoption of a military equipment use policy, second reading, adding to Chapter 9, Section 9.25.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and Council. What you have before you at this public hearing and community is the adoption of ordinance number 1865. Assembly Bill 481, AB 481 requires that the city adopt a policy and also codify in its code a military use ordinance. This is for equipment that is currently in the possession of the Oroville Police Department. For clarity for everyone, no new equipment is being added. This is nothing that does not already exist. The list of the equipment is included with this ordinance. The policy is included within this ordinance. And the amendment to our municipal code is contained within this staff report. This is a military use equipment will be required to come back before the city council every year for your annual review. And if there is any new equipment that wish to be added, the council has to accept that equipment and allow for that to be added to this ordinance. So what we're asking you to do in order to be in compliance with AB 481 is adopt this ordinance and this policy that is included within the staff report, and to accept any public comment that there is for that so that we can include that for further consideration if necessary, Mr. Mayor.
Do we have any comments from the public on this item?
Mr. Mayor, I do not have any blue speaker cards on this item.
Vice Mayor Thompson.
Thank you. Actually, my question or comment is specifically in regards to the process of our public hearings. Is there a reason why we have to post them late as we do, and we're usually waiting for them? Is it possible? Is there a legal, time window that it has to be done after?
No, Mr. Vice Mayor, where that came from was that probably 2 years ago that we changed the time of the council meeting to 4:30. And one of the concerns expressed by the community at the time was those that work were not going to be able to attend public hearings that they may have an interest in. So we agreed at that time, or through conversation with our community members, went time specific with public hearings, and the first one starting at 5:15. That way, anyone that gets off of work by 5 o'clock will be here at 5:15. So that's kind of the history of where that came from. If the council so chose, the council could take that away, and we could just continue on and do them in order as they come, as time allows.
No, that makes sense. Maybe for items that, obviously this one clearly doesn't have, with no public comments, much public, sure there's interest, but enough for somebody to rush down after work, after they get up at 5. So maybe it's not ironclad that it's always at 5:15, because it seems to me every time we do a public hearing, we're always.
I think if it's acceptable to the council, what we'll do is we'll set that we won't do public hearings until 5 o'clock, and typically we don't get to public hearings by 5 anyway. We have enough business between 4:30 and 5 o'clock for, with consent, public comment, various other things that we could start it at that time, if the council is amenable to that. Staff was trying to follow direction of council by doing the 5 time specific thing. If you like, we could set it for 5 and then move forward from there.
I'm open to the recommendations of this council. The information of why definitely brings to light that we definitely want on items like this to have public input. But especially if there is, emails or calls or any, sign of public interest. But if there's no calls and no comments, then maybe 5 would be, 15 minutes.
Mr. Vice Mayor.
This not being an agendized item, I'm going to make a recommendation that we put this on the next agenda for discussion. Did I beat you to it?
That's actually was gonna be my recommendation, was
Great.
to comply with the Brown Act, let's put it in for a future.
Because for example, this isn't something necessarily we want to do. This is something that's being handed down to
Required,
us, so,
Yeah, it's funny, there, in different jurisdictions, this gets some attention in some and no attention in others. In a jurisdiction just about 17 miles to the north of here, which shall not be named, it got a substantial amount of public attention and public comment. But here, not so much.
Councilmember Smith.
Yeah, I just want to register observation. Again, this is something that we're essentially being forced to do. And I feel it's a little bit of a public safety exposure to the city and to our constituents. Most of the equipment, as I peruse through that list, is non-lethal. I don't really even see much in the way of the military, but I'm just registering an observation of concern. And of course, there's nothing we can do about it, but I think it puts our law enforcement agency a little bit at risk, because you're able to then assess, what those assets are, how many you have on hand. It just bothers me.
What you need to overcome them.
Exactly. And I just want to register as a city council, and my concern with that. I get why we're doing it, and I think there's some pandering going on here from the state level, in my opinion, and it's unfortunate that in doing so, we're actually making communities more at risk, not more safe. Again, from my standpoint, from my position, and I just want to register my dissatisfaction or disappointment with that element of this requirement as I see it. So, and again, it's non-lethal. Most of those items are just to help with, dealing with difficult situations and actually trying to save lives, not take life. And I just find that fascinating. So, anyway.
Councilmember Goodson?
So I have a question. I don't know who can answer this. Probably the interim chief of police.
Maybe.
So I was looking at this very long list, and really the only thing that caught my attention was the need for a rocket launcher.
We don't have a rocket launcher.
There was a missile launcher?
It's projectile.
Oh,
You could, flashbangs, you could project those. You could also project a chemical agent for eye irritation, things like that. So it's for introducing it into a building or something like that where a person may be barricaded by
Okay.
using a projectile. It's not for shooting at anyone. The only other projectile we'd have is like a beanbag.
Right,
Something
I
like
saw
that. The
that.
thing that you should be concerned about is the 3H&K MP5 submachine guns. So not only do people know what we have,
Yes.
they know what we
They would
have.
know- they
I
know
mean,
what we
so,
have, yes.
it's, I agree with what Councilman Smith was saying. I don't like showing all of my cards either, but sometimes showing all of your cards also,
prevents,
yeah.
you would hope.
So
Thank you.
for anyone who is listening, thinking, hey, now I know what the city has, what I will say is, other jurisdictions around us that may be called in for mutual aid have significantly more to help out. If anyone is listening thinking, all I need to do is amass a certain amount of weaponry and then I can overcome the city of Oroville police, these things are, the state has a lot of equipment, the county has a significant amount of equipment, other public agencies do, and again, I completely understand where you're coming from. In some other jurisdictions, what I've heard, the complaint is not that one, but what I've heard is, well, this is just so we can compile a list, so now the state knows what to come and get. Which, again, I share your concern of advertising what we have. I'm not worried about what the state is going to come and get. If they're going to come and get whatever it is, that we're not going to be able to stop that anyway. But it is of concern. But I will say again, mutual aid. You are able to tap into anything that any other locality has. They just have to bring it.
And we do have National Guard in Oroville. Vice Mayor Thompson.
Yeah, just to add in the conversation, and the fact that Butte County is one of the highest number of CCW counties in the state of California, and Oroville being the number one redneck town in the state of California. I think if somebody were to assess our city based on what's listed with the police department, they'd be grossly or very foolishly underestimating the firepower that is residing within the walls of this community.
The potential of auxiliary forces.
Okay.
We're off track again.
The message is, don't start none, there won't be none. Can I have a motion to waive the second reading and adopt ordinance number 1865?
I
So moved. I'll s-
Second.
Never got to it.
Voting yes, but only because it's
Yeah.
just state, whatever, but my definitely is no.
Carries with 7 yeses and 0 nos.
Thank you, council.
Okay, moving on to reports, discussions, and correspondence. Council announcements and reports. Do we have any announcements from the council? Councilmember Smith.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate Feather Fiesta Days. Yeah, this week. We have the Kitty Parade by the Kiwanis Club Friday. And then, of course, we have the big happening, the Feather Fiesta Days Parade, starting at 10 o'clock down at 5th and Montgomery. You don't want to miss out on that. It's going to be a good time for Oroville. And then the chili cook-off. I understand that the fire department's going to be doing all the judging on Saturday for the chili cook-off that'll be hosted by the Eagles down at Myers and adjacent to the parking lot A. Just a lot of great stuff going on in our community. Also, you want to do First Fridays?
You go for it.
Okay, so we have First Fridays with the Downtown Business Association, and they're going to have their salsa taste. And they'll have a little welcoming booth at Myers and Bird at 4 o'clock. And so you can either go online to the Downtown Business Association's website, and/or you can purchase right there at Bird and Myers, 4 o'clock Friday.
It's 19 salsas.
Did you say margarita?
I think everybody's
And
gonna have
margaritas, too.
In town.
Prove it. You better show up and vote.
Any other council announcements? Well, I will say that I attended the rib cook-off on Saturday at the Eagles, and it was excellent. And I am an Eagle now. They said I had the legs for it. So, but Saturday, I just want to thank the Exchange Club and the Chamber because Saturday's my birthday and they're having a big parade for me. Wow. And I really appreciate that. Thank you for disguising it as Feather Fiesta Days. Anyone else?
I'd like to know more about what kind of legs an eagle has.
Skinny.
Similar to a chicken.
Okay, moving on to future agenda items. Mr. Legron, you have my request.
No.
I wrote
Correct.
the public hearing.
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, I have that.
Anyone else? Having none, looking for administration reports. Mrs. Bergstrand. Chief Tens. Chief Tens. Nothing? Mr. Legron.
I'm going to defer to Ms. Nevers, who has a very, very, very important update that one of us in this room has been waiting on for a long time.
Okay, here it is. The construction has commenced at Table Mountain Boulevard on the art wall. It's a moment of celebration. The designs, well, we can email them to you, but it's pretty much what we have presented previously. It will be a 6-foot tall cinder block wall, and they will be able to apply the salmon mosaics that the classes within the schools will create and then mount to the wall, and then we can have little plaques under each salmon representing each school.
Which side of my face is it?
And where we'll go from there, this is part of the project
Against the dirt.
with the Olive
Ranch Phase 2
Olive
and
Ranch
3.
Phase 2 and 3. So they're doing that part of it. So what we'll do is, once we get the basics of that put down, that wall originally built, then we'll be back to council for the final design of that walk area. But I was just so happy when I seen that the K-rail was put in, the fence was put up, dirt was turning over, and tractors were out there, because this has been going on for entirely too long. I'm just happy that we're making headway on this, so we're getting close.
And so what you'll see is that a lot of the vegetation has been removed from the crest of that slope. They will be grading down that slope. Again, it will be a 6-foot tall retaining wall, and the sidewalk will be widened to 10 feet so that multiple people can pass each other at one time. So it'll be a huge improvement over what's existing.
So,
The decorative wall part is against the hillside, not between the cars and the pedestrian.
That's
right?
correct.
Okay, thank you. It's hard to imagine.
Dawn, just for clarification, we're making reference to the orange barricade there?
Yes.
We've seen enclosed. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. I can continue on if that would be okay. I have a few other items to report on.
Hey, sure.
The housing element has been submitted to HCD for its initial review. As I previously mentioned, the RFP for the City Hall roof replacement and facade repairs has been published, and that is due on June 1st. The South Oroville Advisory Committee meeting will be tomorrow evening at the South Side Community Center Boardroom at 3 p.m. tomorrow. So if anybody else would like to attend,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Just want to let the council know we are working hard on the budget. We have sent everything to the departments and actually have a few of the departments back in. And the next step is we're all trying to compile a wish list for vehicles and equipment. And so we're right in the middle of budget. We're right on track. Everything's looking good, and we're doing it in the new software.
Councilmember Goodson.
Dawn, it was my understanding that that meeting, Southside Revitalization meeting, was originally in the boardroom, but it had changed because of the larger number of people.
That's correct, yes.
Back into the multipurpose room.
Yes, that's correct. I apologize for that.
Finish, Ruth? Mr. Huber?
Not much to add. I did want to let the council know I am tracking a bill, well, several bills, but one of them related to allowing cannabis growers to sell their product at farmers market outside of the normal permitting process. It is interesting from the standpoint, again, I forgive me for geeking out on it from a lawyer's perspective on this, but Proposition 64 was a voter initiative that added the dispensaries and growers, those options. And Prop 64 says only dispensaries can sell directly to consumers and delivery people can sell directly to consumers. Well, this would be an option that was not contemplated by Prop 64. So if this passes, there would be a challenge, ironically, by the dispensaries, because they don't want growers to be able to sell directly to the public. And again, it's interesting to me from a legal standpoint because the voters approved Prop 64, so in theory, the voters would have to modify it. The legislature is saying, well, we're not touching Prop 64, we're just adding this little sidecar to it, which I think is...
Trailer bill.
I think is a distinction without a difference. I think it really is up against Prop 64, but anyway, it'll be decided another day. This is working its way through the Assembly, and then we'll have to go through, assuming it passes the Assembly, we'll have to go through the Senate before it can get to the governor. And there is now limited time left to do that. I think there's 6 weeks left or 5 weeks left in the legislative session for bills to move out of one house and into the other, or one side of the legislature and into the other. But anyway, I'm tracking that. I'll let you know if it gets any legs to it, but.
It's interesting because I remember a lot of the selling points, if you will, from that group. And one of them was that it was dangerous to have just anybody selling this stuff. It had to go through a dispensary that was regulated. So I guess we're over that now. Councilmember Smith.
And just correct me if I'm wrong, but we did leave, and I think everyone knows my position on this, I'm always opposed to cannabis for recreational purposes. That being said, we did leave in place the component for taxing in our city. I believe that was left in place.
That was approved by the voters. That is in place. So even at a farmer's market, if you had a farmer's market locally, then yes, that tax would be in place. Collecting it may be another issue, but.
Well, then that comes back to Mr. Belser. Go get him. Get our money.
Oh, yeah. Mr. Belser.
Good evening. I just want to talk a little bit about the code enforcement program. We have a couple new employees. Will be our final two code enforcement technicians. It should be coming on May 9th. There might be a delay in one of the employees, but I'm happy to announce that we'll be at full staff as far as the code enforcement technicians go. We've been given the responsibilities of dealing with the potential fire hazard properties in the city of Oroville. Over the last few weeks, my staff has done 1,455 inspections on properties around the city, inspecting them for fire danger, tall grass, rubbish that's lying around that'll provide fuel for a fire. And it's nice to report that we only are going to send out approximately 220 letters after those inspections. So based on probably some of the past history of fires and the recent history of fires, people are kind of getting it together and making their property safe. So that's nice to be able to report that. It was a lot of work on the staff's part. They're actually physically driving out, inspecting these properties. In the future, we anticipate using technology that was used in the past, which would be drones to inspect for that particular, not for anything else. And then meeting the standards of State Bill 296, which is now written in the law, Penal Code 829.7 as of November. The code enforcement staff has been attending safety classes. I have two that will be going to 832 PC Laws of Arrest class. Whenever they work in hand with law enforcement, they need to understand laws of arrest as well as the police officers. That's written into the bill. Additionally, they attended an active violence emergency response course in Livermore, California. It was actually a two-part course. First part was webinar. It involved a test, an examination at the end, and then you were allowed to go to the second part where they learned some hands-on skills in case they were attacked in the field, how to assess situations and escape properly as needed, and the documentation of use of force. We're still moving forward on our burned structures in the city. We had 17 structures, we're down to 5 that we consider to be immediate hazards where people are squatting or living in these locations. We have notice and orders on all of them except for 2. The notice and orders last about 30 days. And in the future, I'll be coming forward to move forward with receivership on several of these properties.
Thank you. And with that, Vice Mayor Thompson.
Would you like me to report? Okay. All right. So I have the honor to coach
Oh, yeah.
a baseball team. We are a travel team based out of Oroville, and we are the NorCal Bombers. And these are amazing young men that I don't want to get choked up.
Go ahead.
I love these guys. And I mean, when you think about the future and you think about these individuals, I feel like we're safe in our city as long as they grow up here. But this weekend, we were invited to attend a tournament in Nevada, in Sparks, Nevada. And this is a nationwide tournament. And our division that I coach is 12U. You have to be 12 years of age or under. And they won that tournament, and they actually beat a team that was allegedly unbeatable. And this team is out of the Bay Area. Anyways, it was a phenomenal tournament. These guys played 4 games over a 2-day period. I had the pleasure to coach Scott Thompson's son, Ben Thompson, who was also on that team. Amazing young man, along with the other amazing young men that participated. And these individuals, they naturally, based on their age, they all go to school, but they also are playing Little League on top of playing on our travel team. And they're getting to experience stuff outside of the realm of just Little League. And they were awarded with some, I wish I had a photo of it to show you, and maybe in the future I can bring it. I actually want to bring the team in so you guys get to meet them and have them wear their championship rings. They're amazing rings. They were super proud, and they feel like they won the World Series after Sunday. So thank you.
Just to add, it was their 3rd tournament in a row that they won.
Yeah.
Wow.
Ernie Telly and Curtis
And Tom.
and Tom Rowe. So anyways, they're Curtis Johnson, who works for Butte County, and Tom Rowe. And we all have sons on the team, and very proud.
All amazing coaches.
Great job.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Absolutely. You know, Oroville's so full of talent. I know that a lot of us remember a lot of the people coming out of here. Gary Nolan, one of the big ones, but our cheerleaders at Oroville and Las Plumas High Schools just won the national championships in Las Vegas. So thank you for people like Mr. Belser dedicating his time and just doing an absolute amazing job.
And you'd be shocked how many people come to us and say, "Where is Oroville?" And we show them pictures, we tell them what we're about, we show them our lake, and our name is out there, and it's
Right
out there
behind
across
that
the
ring.
nation, not just in this state or in Nevada. So.
Yeah, excellent.
A side note, and then we'll let that one lay, is the parents and some of the kids overheard some of the other parents and their teams calling our kids from the ghetto.
Yes, absolutely.
And these boys are very respectful, so they just did what they do and took the tournament, so showed them what the ghetto can do.
Oh, no.
I don't know, but all we know, we're winners. That's all that matters.
Councilmember Goodson, did you wish to say something?
Oh, gosh, let me redirect between the ghetto and the rednecks. Okay.
One big happy family.
And I would like to add that we also went over to the Chico Aces tournament and won that tournament as well. And there was a lot of publicity that went over Facebook and other, it didn't look good for Chico that Oroville was there winning their tournament.
Something you had shared with me, the team that they had to beat had, out of 1,400 and some games, they'd only lost 2.
Yeah, they are an amazing team, and they are, I think, ranked number 5 in the nation.
Wow.
When you talk about 12U, and their coach, he played for the Oakland A's for several years. He also played for the the Colorado Rockies and other. I mean, they're an amazing organization. They are.
Our coach is Ron Belser.
Yeah, one of the coaches. I have 3 other coaches that do an amazing job. So.
Excellent.
Yes, thank you. So my question is in regards to, you had mentioned receivership. Could you clarify what that means? Explain.
So basically what happens is we have to get your permission to move forward legally. And people that have interest in properties that we have abated and boarded up, they may go through the court process through a judge asking to receive the property. And I know Mr. Huber's going to chime in here.
And enlighten us, is that a process that is also contingent upon a homeowner being negligent in paying the property tax?
So the property tax is sort of a side issue. If there is a property owner that has allowed a property to become a public health hazard, a public nuisance, such that it affects that there's a risk to the public health of either the neighbors. Think of things like, rats and vermin and, garbage that's, piling up for, months at a time. Those are public health hazards that could be a risk to the life of any resident of that home or to the surrounding community. That triggers an ability to have a receiver appointed, which a receiver is technically an officer of the court. It is an individual who takes control of the property in every way, shape, and form except ownership. They step into the shoes of the owner in every way, shape, and form. They take control of the property. They have rights to enter in the property. They have rights to exclude others from the property. They just aren't on title of the property. But they then are able to borrow against the property, remediate the issues that are there. In fact, that's their direction from the court. Usually their mandate from the court is clean up that property. And they do that by borrowing against the property, getting it cleaned up, getting it into a place where it's no longer a public health hazard, and then they will turn it back over to and I'll say they then step out of the process, right? They will either turn it back over to the property owner if the owner is able to clear the liens and to take care of the property. Now, in many instances, they can't take care of the property, so the court will then order it to be sold.
Okay.
But doesn't always happen that way. In some instances, they will then say, great, I can clear the liens. I can now live in a place that is, not in, I'll use the term squalor, that doesn't create a public health hazard for neighbors or, people surrounding in the community. But it is a process that you have to approve, and then we file documents with the court. The court, if the court agrees, sees the evidence, agrees, appoints a receiver, they will give that receiver the authority that they need to go borrow against the property. And every time they do something, they have to have monthly accounting with the court. And I'm pointing because that's the court's over there. But they have to have monthly accounting with the court. Every time they borrow money, they have to ask permission from the court. As an officer of the court, they can't do anything without the judge's permission. And so this really is a guided process. There are individuals who do nothing but that. We have worked with several of them. And in fact, we've done that process here in Oroville several times in the past.
Thank you.
Councilmember Riggs.
Thank you. My question was, you mentioned that there was a number of homes that were in this, possibly entering into this process. Is it something that we could also replicate for commercial properties, or is there a different process that would align with that?
I think to answer the question, the best way to answer that is the Oroville Inn is a commercial property that did go into receivership and eventually made its way into private ownership.
What a great success. Thank you.
Yeah, that really is what sort of an example of what can happen. Now, the receiver, are you threatening me?
I'm just really.
No, the receiver took control of that property. And then, interestingly enough, what Councilmember Goodson mentioned about taxes, there was a tax issue. And the receiver came to the city attorney, and I took it to the council. And the receiver asked permission. They said, look, this is going to go to a tax sale. What would you like to do? And the receiver said, I can back out. I can pay this off. But there is a provision in some of these instances where a public agency can buy the property at a tax sale for the amount that's owed on the tax rolls. And that's what happened with the Oroville Inn. We bought it out of a tax sale for what was owed on the taxes. And then you were able to control the destiny. You got it in the hands of a developer and turned it around. And the receiver was happy to step out of it because they just want what's best for the property. Commercial properties are eligible, again, the same standard. It has to be not just a nuisance, but a public health hazard, that it endangers the safety of the surrounding community.
Okay, thank you.
Meeting adjourned until May 17th, 2022 at 4 p.m.
27 more examples.